Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I am Gary, your host. This is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. This time, we're going to take a look at some more Gold Key adventure goodness. In this case, this is Mighty Samson, number 20 from 1969. Silver Age. But before we get into that, I want to remind you, hey, my two books are available on Amazon. It's Bizarre Brain Comics Presents. It's my new one. I still don't have my own copies. And Bizarre Brain Comics Anthology. This is humor and with a little adventure, and this is a little bit more mainstream. With some superhero stuff. I got a Western story, some horror stuff, and fun like that. And they are both available on Amazon. On Amazon, they're linked. I can't get them unlinked. Look up this one, and then scroll down to series. Click on series, and this one comes up. So you can order them there or on Barnes & Noble online store or Thrift Books. And thank you for that. And I thank everyone who has already bought their copies. Thank you so much. It's about the only way I can get my stuff out there. Now, the Mighty Samson. You can see this is a really, really rough, worn, and falling apart, well-read copy. It was about this condition when I got it, but it's perfectly fine for reading, though, and that's the whole point of the comics is reading them. Hey, as I said, Mighty Samson, number 20, 1969, from Gold Key Comics. It is a post-apocalyptic science fiction adventure series from Gold Key, centered around a destroyed New York City, which they call New York, primarily on Manhattan Island. It was created by Otto Binder and Frank Thorne and ran intermittently from 64 to 82. It's a 1964 to 1982 for a total of 32 issues, and a lot of those were reprints, especially in the 70s and 80s. Issues 1 through 6 were drawn by Frank Thorne. I've covered some Mighty Samson before, and that was I think it was a Frank Thorne story on that one. And he was so good. And this was before he gained real notoriety with his work on Red Sonja for Marvel. But he did Samson, he did Tomahawk and Hawk, Son of Tomahawk for DC, and also some Korok, Son of Tarzan at DC. And then thereafter, it was done by Jack Sparling, with a few exceptions. Later on, that's Jack Sparling. That's who's the artist in this one, is Jack Sparling. And then had some by Jose Delbo and Jack Abel. Jose Delbo just keeps popping up everywhere. He did a lot of stuff for various things for Gold Key, several things for DC, primarily several years on Wonder Woman in the 70s, and did some good Western stuff at Charlton. And so, said most covers were fully painted by Mo Golub, and some, I think mostly some of the later ones, were painted by George Wilson. That's why I think this one is actually a Mo Golub, or no, this is either Mo Golub or George Wilson, of course. But I think just by the brush strokes I see here, I am and the characterization, I am thinking it is George Wilson. I wish they had signed them. Also, he would do do the background like this and then work forward. You put like some of the seagrass, just indicate details, and then you got the big fishy. And this is a cool adventure story here. So let's take a look, because I've taken more talk time than I want to. Okay, anything interesting on the back? Nah, just some ads. Okay, here we go. And you can see it's coming apart. And this is Attack of the Fishmen. Here in the splash panel, they're already in the midst of it. It turns out that, okay, in the Manhattan, there was a big storm. Manhattan had become flooded by the storm surge, and the streets are flooded, and all the tribesmen who live at various places in New York are that's New York trying to get away. They're have made rafts and utilizing still usable old boats and stuff, because this is hundreds of years after nuclear apocalypse. Okay, and he's trying to get him over to New Jersey, and then right in the midst of it, this whirlpool suddenly appears. What's going on? And it starts dragging stuff, and people are abandoning ship, and they're swimming to safety because the boats are being dragged down. I would think they would be too, but well, Samson remains mentor, and what was her name? I can't remember her name. His girlfriend. They take off too. They get back to some of the flooded buildings, some safety, and he's trying to stop the whirlpool. But he and his boats get sucked down. Here we can see. And Jack Sparling, he did a marvelous job. He's not as good as Frank Thorne, and he has a very organic style. He did some Bomba the Jungle Boy at DC, and I think some more stuff. I'm not positive on that. Various other things. Has some good anatomy, and it was kind of stylized. His stuff is almost cute, the way he did faces. Anyway, he got sucked down, and then he sees there are fishmen, and they've got this machine, which is actually the engine from an old ship, which they have positioned so that when it sucks, it causes the whirlpool. So he's down there, stops the whirlpool, fights off fishmen. Well, fishmen, and there's some marvelous monsters and strange people in this series, and they're usually like fishmen, and later he had some other monsters that are just like half of one thing, half of something else, something that is biologically totally impossible, but still. So he's safe. They get on the raft, and they start deducing stuff, and then they're attacked by the fishmen, and here's their king, Neptune. You know, like Neptune, but with a PH and a TOON. Neptune, and he and Samson are battling, because remember, Samson, he's a mutant himself, and he is super powerful and has great endurance. So Neptune has his trident, and he plays some tunes on his trident and calls up sea beasts. Here is the sea bull, which is like half buffalo and half fish. See, doesn't work. Could not biologically, but it's all good fun. And smash, and he gets away. And then they're trying to make another. So they have to go directly to the fishermen's town. So he starts trying to find where they are, because they had stories of stuff at a certain area of the bay, and they row out there and get all the boats and stuff, get people out again, and they are attacked by fishmen again, who then take over the boats. And they got a backup story in the middle of Tom Tomorrow, also done by Frank Springer. No, Jack Sparling, I mean. Then we've got Dam of Doom. And we find out that while the water should be receding from the city, it's not. The fishmen are building a dam in the bay to keep the city flooded, because they wanted to get into the city, have access to the city and the buildings and stuff like that. So the fishermen are using boats and sea creatures and stuff to attack the tribesmen in the buildings. So Samson gets, okay, let's get all this junk, office machines and stuff, and they start bombing the fishermen and in the boats. And so Samson gets back down there, fighting them off again, fighting Neptune, and he again calls another sea beast. This one's half gorilla, half fish, and they fight. And some great fighting scenes in the water. And Samson tricks him, smacks him in the head with the door of an ancient submerged safe door. And when he come up, he is captured, and his friends are captured, and they're tied to the back of another beast that's kind of like a giant water bug with skis for feet. As they're heading out to sea, they go under the Verrazano Bridge with cables and stuff hanging down. Samson gets a hold of it and saves them from that. Then they go to a place that had diving equipment, and they get ancient diving equipment which would have been deteriorated and would never work hundreds or thousands of years later. All that rubber would have decomposed, but who cares? It's just a good story. So he uses an aqualung so he can stay down longer, goes down, takes the fight to them, and really lays into them. Then he captures Neptune. He puts him in a fishing net and hangs him from one of the remaining towers of the buildings. He makes him surrender. Says, "Okay, you got to surrender. Do what I say." He gets calls more sea beasts to clear the dam so that the city starts draining. Takes his trident and bends it up so he can't call the sea beasts again. So then it drains, and now the city is full of mud, but it's safe to go back now. And that is what we've got this time for the Mighty Samson. A good, fun, adventurous read. And remember, reading your comics is the whole point. The whole point of the comics. And we love this stuff, don't we? Yes, we do. Some great gold key, silver age goodness, adventure. One of the great things about this is it was one and done. One and done. One story, one issue. Sometimes some of the later stuff would have two stories in an issue. I find okay if you have a special issue, a special storyline that will cover 2 or 3 issues. That's fine. What I hate is the never-ending stories. You get one story and you read it and read it and read it and read it. That's why I like when my wife was reading some X-Men books. They're reprints and trade paperback, and she'd read one and it didn't end. So and after 4 or 5 issues, copies, and she goes, it just never ends, does it? I said, no, it doesn't. So she just stopped reading them altogether. So that's okay. That's why I just read some of that stuff once in a while. Anyway, here we are. That's the end of Mighty Samson. Thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe. Remember to, if you haven't, get my book and leave your comments below. Do you remember Mighty Samson? And what do you think of Mighty Samson? A lot of fun. And what artists do you like best? My favorite, of course, is Frank Thorne, but I like all of them. And so let me know what you think in the comments below. And remember, comics are art.